So this is the Peloton screen with the new LCD driver board, so it can run Windows. And let's turn up sound a little bit. The sound is coming from the LCD board, which supports two speakers. The Peloton screen comes with two smaller speakers. Now it is upside down because the way they Peloton mounts it on the screen, the panel is rotated, I think, 180 degrees from the way the other manufacturers place it on their cases. So not a big deal. You can go into Windows and rotate your image 180 degrees, so now it'll be the right side up. But I think then that messes up your stereo sound. Would be turned inverted. So you can also fix that later yourself with some rewiring, but it's all up to you. However you want to mount it. There'll be two smaller screens here, two speakers here and here. So the Peloton screen does have 4 speakers, and we'll go over that. But they're not on the panel as of yet. Basically taking them off. So here it is, running Windows. Let's go back and see how that looks. So pretty good image. I haven't dialed it in, but just proving that the LCD driver board works using the HDMI out from the PC to the HDMI in of the driver board. And it's looking pretty good. So if you want to turn your unused Peloton screen into a PC monitor, you can, using the driver board that I'll link in the description. Let's talk about some other things. So this is how we'll hook up the LCD driver board to the panel. The LVDS video cable will go to this connector over here, and you also need to hook up your backlight power to this connector over here. Now the board also has a speaker output, so there's 2 speakers, left speaker and the right speaker. Use this one cable, and you will be able to connect it to the this connector over here. And it would just have the right connector for it. And of course, this is where you plug your 12-volt power supply. That's HDMI in, DVI and VGA, and some I think audio in and headphone out. It's pretty easy to hook up. All right, let's talk about disassembling a little bit here. So the first step is going to be removing this back cover. There'll be 6 screws, 6 or 7 screws around here in this area where you just remove them, and then this cover can be snapped off at the edges. You just use a pry tool, a plastic pry tool, to remove it from the edges. Now the problem then was that the arm was going to be is still coming from this access hole, and I could not remove it because I cannot remove these 2 screws. So this arm was still inserted going through this hole. So I was still able to remove the arm by going it was still screwed down this way. So I was still, even though the cover was still attached, I was able to lift it up and then remove it from these four holes right here. So remove those four screws and you'll be able to lift out the arm and the back cover. At that point they were in one piece. So this is what the back looks like. You have your main board here. You have your two larger speakers. I think this is the touchscreen connector. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's what it is. And you have these other cables like your camera. I think that might be your Wi-Fi module, and it still be connected to the probably your buttons here. And important note to realize that this is not the back of the panel. This is just a cover, so you still need to remove this. So start by removing as many cables as you want. Start by removing basically everything. And before you remove this back cover, be very careful, because then you'll be left with this video cable, which I don't want you to do the same mistake that I made. The video cable was connected here and it went underneath this right speaker and connected to the panel. So then I ended up lifting this guy while this part of the cable was still connected to the connector of the panel. So that damaged the connector, and it didn't damage the panel. So then once you unscrew about I don't know 12 screws, you'll be able to lift this connector, this cover, and then you'll be able to see your actual panel. And whenever you look for your panel model number, you need to look this on this label. And let's see if I can capture it here. Let's talk about it in another segment. The LCD driver board does support two speakers for just your left and right channel. These guys are the ones that were connected earlier. Kind of smaller compared to these two larger ones. We can connect all four of them if we do a serial connection. We'll connect this one and this one together for your right channel. Connect them in a serial manner. And then connect this one and this one in serial, connect to the left channel of the driver board. And that'll be one way to hook it up. I'm not sure yet what I'm gonna do, but for now I'm just gonna leave the two smaller speakers hooked up. Later on, I'm thinking I'm gonna experiment and connect all four speakers. Now you do lose the touchscreen functionality of the screen with this driver board. This is pretty sure this is a driver board for the connectors for the touchscreen. I looked around. I could not find a suitable controller board for the touchscreen. I'm not a big expert on touchscreens or LCD driver boards for that matter. This is an amateur channel. But if anybody knows of a suitable controller board for the touchscreen that we can connect these three connectors in there, then that'll help me out. But this is the motherboard, and I don't know if I mentioned this, but the display itself didn't have any problems when I was having trouble with it, but the touchscreen was not working properly. Some of the buttons, I think, and especially in the corners, just would not react to the touch. So, one thing I could have tried if I would have been brave enough back then is I could have reseated these connectors in this board, and maybe that would have helped. I don't know, but now that we got a new screen, I don't worry about it. but this will be turned into a PC monitor or something. So yeah, this is the main motherboard, and it'll come out once you disconnect all the cables. So now we're gonna look at the model number on the back of the panel and try to find a suitable LCD controller board. This model number is the G238 hat model, and I tried to look all over the internet for one LCD controller board that would be compatible with this panel, but I couldn't. I ended up going into the one of the manufacturer's websites, and I looked at all the panel model numbers, and there was another panel called the G238 HAN, and that panel was pretty close to this panel. All the specs, with the exception that the HAT model has the touchscreen and the HAN model doesn't. So I ended up looking for the controller for the HAN model, and I did find one on AliExpress. But that controller board only had DVI and VGA input and no audio support whatsoever. But I did order it, and it ended up working fine on the DVI input. The only thing that it wouldn't work with the HDMI out of any other device using an HDMI to DVI cable. So I kept on looking for other controllers. The one that I ended up finding on Amazon ended up supporting the panels that were supported by the ones I ended up on AliExpress. It didn't list the HAT model or the HN model, but it listed the other panels that was supported by the LCD controller that I found on AliExpress, like I mentioned. So I hooked it up, and it ended up working fine. So that's the controller that you're seeing in this video. Now, when you open up your Peloton screen, not really sure which panel you're gonna get. This was from a Peloton thread mail that we bought, I can't remember, maybe 2020. And again, the recent we ended up replacing it because the touchscreen was not working properly, but the video was coming out fine. So I ended up decided to open it up and take a look. Let me know if you have any questions, and thanks for looking.